Well, we have with us Matt Walsh, Mayor of Council Bluffs, and Paula Hazelwood, who is the CEO of Advance Southwest Iowa, the Economic Development Corporation in Pottawattamie County. Mayor and Paula, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Good to have you both with us. And I guess I like to start these conversations out with a big, broad question, and that is the 30,000-foot view of the state of growth and development in Council Bluffs. And since we'll start specifically with Council Bluffs, we'll have the mayor first, and then Paula, we'll have you kind of talk countywide. But Mayor, your 30,000-foot view of the state of growth and development in Council Bluffs.
You know, I think things are going really well right now. We've got a lot of activity, but the state of Iowa in and of itself needs to figure out their tax structure. Nebraska is going through the same thing. With property taxes, especially on commercial buildings, are high. It's a long story that goes back to 1031 tax exchanges and investors putting money in agricultural ground and Farm Bureau complaining, and it just snowballed, and somebody's got to get a hold of it and figure it out. We have worked really well on our income tax structure, and I think we're very competitive for commercial income taxes.
So as a practitioner of commercial real estate in Iowa, and particularly Council Bluffs, I have noticed that real estate taxes can be a lot higher in Council Bluffs than in Omaha. However, didn't they do something about 5-10 years ago on apartments where they transitioned them?
So they were considering apartments to be commercial buildings, and you really got to go back to the story of why it got so high, but they uncoupled apartments from commercial and put it at the residential rate, and that reduced. What they do is they roll back the percent valuation of your property that's taxable. Currently, it's about 46%. So if you
they did it over like 10-year period.
Yeah, and it's fully implemented now. And actually, I dealt with an apartment developer on a TIF question, and I said, I don't think we need to subsidize the TIF level we had previously, because now residential apartment complexes have been reduced down in their taxable value, but so I did the analysis for him, and there's an intangible in there, and that's how the assessor treats the valuation. And I think the Douglas County assessor is a little softer on valuation than the Pottawattamie County assessor. And how do you balance that out? Because, as you know, appraisal's not a science, it's an art.
Yeah, and from a commercial real estate standpoint, that's certainly a consideration, whether it's base rent, taxes, insurance. When they're writing a check to the landlord, that's certainly a consideration. And in order to retain tenants, we've got to keep those operating expenses lower. But
especially when you break them out, you say, here's your lease, but here's your CAM charge, and that CAM charge jumps out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, especially taxes.
Paula, let's talk a little bit about the economic conditions and the state of growth and development in Pottawattamie County in general.
So this is my 8th year. This is my 8th year as the CEO for Advance Southwest Iowa Corporation, and I've consistently been pleased with the development and the growth that we've experienced. When I first accepted this job, we really only covered Council Bluffs. It was just me, one employee. But in 2018, we were asked by the county to actually take over the economic development for the full county, and so I have an employee that covers the rural communities out there. But we have consistently stayed busy, and even when COVID hit, we had about 50 projects in our active pipeline. We track everything, as you can imagine, as economic developers, and I kept kind of waiting for it to level out or even decline a little bit, and it never really did. We got even busier during COVID, the 3 years that people were really working, from home. We got even busier. And the projects that we had in our pipeline, we didn't have one of them that fell off. I mean, and some of them we are actually still working on. So we're diverse, and we've got a good mix of industry verticals, which I'm super happy about. And partially our projects are coming to us differently these days. So we work with a lot of site selection consultants, as you can imagine. but we have gotten more and more leads directly from our real estate community, which we appreciate, but then also the end user directly. So the tides have changed somewhat in economic development from when I first started.
So, Paula, your primary responsibility, your focus is on Pottawattamie County and Council Bluffs, but you're part of Select Greater Omaha, and you're part of the Omaha Chamber affiliation as well. Explain how that works and what makes our metropolitan area unique when it comes to economic development.
Correct. So we are part of the Greater Omaha Economic Development Partnership and have been since 2013, which is a 2-state, 8-county regional economic development initiative. And so we primarily, Advanced Southwest Iowa Corporation, primarily focuses just on Pottawattamie County. But we interact with all of our partners within the organization. And really, we focus not only on new-to-market projects, but also obviously growing our existing business base here. And so, when we have projects come in to the Omaha Chamber, it's kind of a mixed bag because some companies only want to be in Nebraska. Other companies are open, obviously, to be in for Iowa and Nebraska to be considered. So it just depends on the project, how we interact with our other partners, specifically the Omaha Chamber, but we collaborate on a day-to-day basis.
And a win for Iowa is a win for Nebraska.
Absolutely. The mayor and I were just talking about that on the ride over. I mean, we are a region for a purpose. We share workforce. The commutes are very, very easy. We have a lot of amenities, that are available in Omaha, in Council Bluffs, and some of our rural communities, partner communities. And so we want to celebrate all of those jointly and obviously be able to, talk openly about, what's in each area. But yes, that's absolutely correct.
What are some of the economic development announcements that have occurred, just a couple of them in Pottawattamie County over the last couple of years that stand out to you?
I would say one of the biggest ones that we worked on, and I believe we started working with them in 2020, late 2020, maybe early 2021. But IceCap Cold Storage Facility was one of them, and we started working with them. And as you know, kind of that warehouse distribution verticals changed a little bit during COVID. Still seeing, a little bit of various trends with that, but IceCap actually came in, started working with us and with the city. And, I always like to preface every project that I work on, specifically in Council Bluffs, the city staff, the mayor and his team are obviously involved with. But we started working with them. We had a couple of challenges to overcome, but they ended up buying a rail serve site in Council Bluffs for a 2-phase project. And so they began their construction. Phase 1 was completed. And then very rapidly, it wasn't planned that quickly, but very rapidly, then they launched into phase 2, and that construction is just being cleaned or finished right now.
And what's the location of that? South 24th Street, or?
No, they are actually off of 16th Avenue over there. So kind of where the Union Pacific Railroad yard is, kind of over in that area, off of like 23rd.
I was impressed. Another project was the Opus buildings, right? Interstate 80, I-29, Mayor. A couple of big warehouses that were leased right away.
I think coming out of COVID, when businesses were adversely affected, they were so used to just-in-time inventory ordering, having it on site a couple days after they ordered it. And when that couldn't happen coming out of COVID, then there was a reaction in the market to start building warehousing in strategic areas that and our advantage is that we are on Interstate 80 and 29, and so you can go east, west, north, south out of Council Bluffs. That seems to have softened a little lately, but for a while we had lots of logistic companies.
We have with us the mayor of Council Bluffs, Matt Walsh, and Paula Hazelwood, CEO of Advanced Southwest Iowa. And Mayor Walsh, I kind of want to talk a little bit about city housing projects that are underway in Council Bluffs.
Yeah, we like everywhere across the country, post-2008 real estate crash, we had an active builder's market prior to that, and a lot of people left the business. And while we have people building homes in Council Bluffs, not to the extent that they were. And unfortunately, at this point, we think we have about 1% vacancy in rental property, which is good for people that want to build multifamily. They fill up quick. they're successful for people. The interest rate's a little higher, but I don't think you ever get a market where you can be 100% occupied in a matter of months after opening your doors. But we also have a dearth of owner-occupied, and so we need builders to build. I was surprised the other day. I got a call from one of the local media stations that said that after the Census Bureau, that the population of Council Bluffs had gone down 341 people. And I know, they did the census during COVID, and so they did the mail out. But I know people that were hired that were going to work the census, doing the boots on the ground, door knocking to follow up on those who didn't respond. And the response rate's usually about 55-60% to the first mailing. And so I went to research, and the Census Bureau reports 99.9% of the people return their mailed out requests. And I went, wow, you got to be a little more creative with your...
37% of statistics are made up.
Yeah.
I thought it was 38.
Yeah, it could be 38.
Yeah, by the way, not to go off on a tangent with that, but I saw that report as well, and it doesn't make any sense. I mean, the Census Bureau even said the city of Gretna had to decline in population. It's the fastest growing city in the state of Nebraska.
Yeah.
That was asinine.
And it's important stuff because that's where federally funding and state funding get allocated based on population. When you buy gas at the gas pump, the state collects it and then reallocates it back out to communities based on their population. So if you got less population, you get less money. It's a bad scenario.
Mayor, let's talk a little bit about the streetcar. Trent and I have been talking about the streetcar a lot because we're so excited about what it's going to do for repopulation of urban centers and commercial real estate and residential real estate development. What do you think about? We've heard about these plans to extend it into Council Bluffs. Trent and I love the idea. Where are we at with that, and what's the feasibility long term?
So, as you alluded to earlier, it's been a conversation that's gone on for a decade, if not decades, and we've been on trips to look at other communities that have put in streetcar, Salt Lake, Pittsburgh, Dallas, Kansas City, and without exception, we just got back from North Carolina. Without exception, it's like watering the desert. Residential housing grows because developers can give their clients an amenity they can't get anywhere else. And then those ancillary businesses that serve dense populated areas, bars, restaurants, dry cleaners, pop up along the streetcar line. I think people misinterpret that it's primarily a human transportation vehicle. It's an economic development vehicle that secondary provides easy, convenient transportation to the surrounding neighborhoods. And Council Bluffs has a unique advantage, we think, in that when our founding fathers platted the ground, they were real creative. Everything north was A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Everything south was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, First Avenue, the first block off of Broadway, served an industrial area that no longer exists with rail. And so it was a rail line, never developed as a street. There's no longer industrial there, so the railroads abandoned it, removed the tracks, and we have a 66-foot wide clear span. So we don't have to tear up streets, put in new infrastructure. People put in new infrastructure because they worry that after the streetcar starts running, they're going to have to tear it up to fix something, so they want to put in everything new. It's expensive, and we can do it without the expense. The one unusual expense, how do we get across the river? And so where we are now is we're doing a Pell study, planning environmental linkages. It's the first step in recognizing whether or not we qualify for federal funding. And Council Bluffs does not have as many affluent residents as Omaha does, and so we will heavily rely on federal funding if we can do it. And it's not a given. We're studying it. We think we can do it. We have a plan. We put in a bike trail along that clear span that if you look at it at the busy intersections, easily doubles as streetcar station stops. But it's a ways away. It's years
But it's
away.
worth the discussion.
It's definitely worth the discussion. If I laughed, somebody wrote a letter to the editor the other day and said, Council Bluffs never changes anything. They're still waiting for General Dodge to come back, and now they want to put a streetcar in. And I'm going, wait a minute, aren't those contradictory terms?
Now, I'd be pretty impressed if General Dodge came back, and so would the Dodge family, if I could speak on their behalf. We got 1 minute left, Paula. I want you to kind of maybe finish up with where we're going with future development in the Council Bluffs area and all of Pottawattamie County.
Well, we do have a lot going on, certainly. We did recently completed a city-county joint land use study, which really gives us a roadmap. But the city has added on top of that a sewer study, sanitary sewer study. So marking, different paths for growth. I mean, obviously, being a river community, we only have a few areas that we can grow in. So certainly looking at those areas, and I do believe we'll continue to chart the path for economic development in the future. But a lot of really interesting and fun things going on right now, not only for economic development, but quality of life pieces. Obviously, as the mayor talked about, housing, all of that jointly goes together to be a good economic development community and region. So
Keep up the good work, you two. And I know you have teams behind you, but you've been dedicated. You've been mayor since 2011, correct?
2013.
2013, okay. 11 years, that's right. And but you've been involved with the city council since, what, 96?
Yeah. So this is my 29th year in elected office.
All right. Well, we greatly appreciate both of you joining us, Mayor Matt Walsh, Council Bluffs, and Paula Hazelwood of Advanced Southwest Iowa. Appreciate you bringing us up to date. We'll do it again in the future.
awesome. Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
If you like this video, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And remember, Grow Omaha is not just media. This is a mission. We are trying to build up Omaha and make it an even better place. We can only do that with your help. Share this video with your friends, neighbors, and family.